Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's the day I am going to go out into the garden and plant my tomatoes, so come along with me. So just like last year, I decided to do some bush varieties, determinate varieties in the 5-liter containers. So I am going to be doing my bush varieties again this year. I have germinated a lot of tomato seeds and I have given a lot away, but I've decided this year that I'm going to keep one of my bush varieties for in the ground and just kind of compare what works better, though I feel like the one in the ground would be a lot better than the ones that go in the containers because they have the source right from the ground and nutrients they can uptake. Also with the fertilizer that I give in the containers, they do wash out a lot quicker than they would in the ground. So we already know that it is going to do much better. I just want to see the yields and go from there. I am hoping to go to get more space for more tomato varieties next year, and so this year we will continue on doing the container varieties. Now you will see that my tomatoes have really grown tall this year. I actually waited 2 weeks. I thought I was actually running late on starting my tomato plants this year because according to the Farmer's Almanac, I was actually doing it on the last date that it's dead to do, and they still outgrew themselves. So next year I'm going to try even 4 weeks less. So if the Farmer's Almanac tells me to do it till this date, I'm just going to go by the last frost date and do it about 8 weeks prior to that. So I'm going to show you how I plant a really large plant like this into these containers. Now with tomato varieties, you're going to know, if you don't know this already, that along the stems is where more roots can grow. So to plant them deeply is actually the most optimal thing to do anyway. So since I knew I was going to be planting these deep, I wasn't too concerned. So these tomatoes are already hardened off. And what hardening off means is you're going to take the plants and get them used to being outdoors because they've been babied indoors for so long that they're not going to be used to the weather, and so they will go into shock if you don't have them already used to being outside into higher heats, the higher winds, and just temperature control. So I have been bringing them outside and they've actually spent days outside. Now you'll see these roots, how they're going around. They're not root bound, they're just doing their thing. So that's a beautiful root system. So here you'll see me digging a hole as deep as I can so I can put that plant right down to the bottom. Then I take off the bottom leaves and I'll fill up the pot to the top, leaving a couple inches of headspace. So I do take these tomato cages because determinate variety you can actually use these tomato cages for. And I'm just going to take this and just go over top and kind of spread it out so it doesn't spike the root ball that's already there. And then just bring that tomato up. And there we are. And as this tomato grows, it's going to be able to grow taller and taller. And there we go, right down to the bottom. And it's already got support from this cage, and it'll be able to grow up as tall as we can. So now I will water it in. So what I do is I always bottom water all of my... Bottom watering prevents the soil from splashing up onto your plants, as well as if there's water on your leaves during the heat of the day, it can make sun scald as well as can create mildew. Now I'm going to continue on and do the remainder. Some of my bush varieties were actually a little bit smaller, so they're going to be much easier to start up. As this grows, I'll just start directing it up through the little trellis here, the cage. There we go, 2 down. I'll continue the other 2 because I've already got one done off camera. Now I do have some soft wire that is meant to support tomatoes, so I did wrap a little one around this one just to kind of give it the little support to stand up so it'll start growing upwards. There, now I have all my 5-bush tomatoes planted and on to the next. So guys, back here I'm going to mend the soil for my tomatoes, and I will show you the process of me doing it. I've already added some fresh soil and some potting mix just to help loosen the soil. So here you'll see me digging up the soil and turning it. This is how I'm taking the soil that's here and the potting mix to amend the soil, to bring the nutrients into the soil, to allow an easier transfer of the plants. So here you'll see me dig down and dig a deep hole, as deep as I feel like I'm going to, but I do it quite wide because the plan is to lay the tomato plant downwards. Instead of digging it as deep as the plant goes, I just lay it downwards and point the tomato plant upwards. So this is what I'm doing here. I plan to do that with all of my tomatoes. So this is how we're coming along. These are my Kellogg's breakfast tomatoes. As you can see, I've dug along into the ground along that way. They're about 1 foot apart, and I'm did the exact same thing. I went from over there and brought it over here. Even some of the roots the stems I kind of curled a bit, which will be okay. And I will show you what my plan is for this year's tomatoes. My plan is to use these sticks to trellis them up, and what I'll do is, knowing that the root starts over there, I can bring this right beside this tomato here. There's no roots there yet, so I can bring it right beside here, and let's see if I can get it to go deeper into the ground. There we are. And then, actually I should do it on the other side here. Let's do it on this side. Deep into the ground, and then I will allow this tomato to trellis up this metal pole, and it has about 5 feet to trellis up, so that should support it as it goes up. And I'll do the same thing with all the tomatoes in this area. So all 3 of them are going to trellis up this, and I'll just come out every day, check on it, water them, and slowly help them trellis up the pole. And each row of tomatoes will be about 1 foot apart. And I'm hoping to see how I have the smaller one in the front and get them gradually taller. That's the plan, so that they grow taller at the back. They'll get the sun, and yeah, that's the plan. That is how I'm doing my indeterminate tomatoes this year. Now it's time for a refreshment bake, and I'll be back at it later. So here you'll see I got all those tomatoes into the ground, and in the very front row there is the Kellogg's breakfast. The last row is peach, and then the middle row we have one Kellogg's breakfast and a peach in the front. And I do have some more of those trellis poles coming, so I'll be putting those in the ground. And then now over to where I'm putting in the cherry tomatoes. So I've already dug a trench over there, so we're just going to go and put these tomatoes in there. So just like the indeterminate tomatoes, I'm going to be taking these cherry tomatoes and laying them down in this trench and all along the way, and then I'll be covering them up with soil, and this way the entire stems will be covered in soil and they'll grow roots all along the stems. This just will make the tomato plants stronger by having more roots to bring up nutrients and water to provide for these tomato plants. Okay guys, so I've got my cherry tomatoes in. They're just over 1 foot apart. I have them kind of leaning a little bit, so it's coming from over and up. They're doing the same thing on each one. And yeah, so I've got 5 cherry tomatoes over in this spot with this trellis. And then I did refix the soil, and I don't know if you can see there's potting soil on top of this. This is going to help my seedlings to germinate. and I'm going to put my zucchini seeds in here. So I still have one more. I forgot to put this tomato plant in. It's going to go right here. And I don't know if you can see, but another tomato seed came up. And I don't know what tomato seed that is or what plant that is. But I'm going to keep that in the container. It is a tomato seed. And I have a bush variety that I'm going to plant. I might do it tomorrow morning, but it's going to come over here in this spot right here. I'm just going to see how it does growing in the ground. And I do have another cage for it, so it's going to go over there. I just have to move this mulch and amend the soil here. And I'm giving this tomato away. So that's all my tomatoes completed. And I have a pathway between my two vegetables. Just like over here, I'll have a pathway right here because I'm just putting in a couple zucchini, summer squash here. So a couple zucchini, couple yellow squash in this area. And then I'm letting my strawberries just go wild over here, which is great. And I don't see them setting off any runners, which I guess that might be the type that they are. But there certainly is a lot of flowers this year, a lot more than last year. And I'm looking forward to having these cute little snacking strawberries when I'm out here in the garden. So guys, that is my tomatoes going in the ground today, which is fantastic. I'm so happy to have finally got them out into the garden here. Just gonna go now and water in those tomatoes, get them a good start. And my garden is certainly growing. I set up this new box here that will eventually, I'll be doing some seed starts in that as well. And that should be the next video after this video. A lot more to put in the ground. I just got most of my seedlings into the ground. And so we'll see where we go from here. But guys, thank you so much for coming along with me on this journey. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to just continue on with my journey and follow along, just go ahead and click that subscribe button and follow along with me into 2023. Thank you guys. Until next time. Bye.